A single 1,000-year-old manuscript governed human life, death, and medical practice across 3 continents for 7 centuries. Yet, modern medicine completely abandoned its core philosophy.
It really is incredible. This text acted as the ultimate medical operating system of the ancient and medieval worlds. It famously fused meticulous clinical observation with a profound understanding of the human soul.
To understand the sheer magnitude of this shift, we are going to solve 2 fascinating historical mysteries in today's explainer. First, how exactly did an 11th century Islamic scholar manage to unify the chaotic, disjointed medical traditions of the ancient world into one functional system?
And second, what specific events caused European religious and academic institutions to first enthusiastically elevate, and then, centuries later, completely discard this absolute masterpiece? Let's find out.
Part 1. The Ultimate Medical Code. So, picture the medical world before the year 1025. Global knowledge was completely fractured. You had Greco-Roman traditions sitting right alongside Persian, Chinese, and Indian medical philosophies, but there was absolutely no unified framework. A physician practicing in one region had a totally different understanding of human physiology than one practicing just a few hundred miles away.
Okay, let's explore how this got solved. The solution came from the brilliant polymath of Avicenna, also widely known as Ibn Sina. He realized medicine desperately needed a universal legal code, a foundational structure. He named his monumental work Al-Qanun fi Tibb. The Arabic word qanun, which translates to canon in English, carries a lot of specific weight. It doesn't just mean a book. It connotes an ordered system, a complete, universal encyclopedia that was meant to be the absolute law of medical practice.
You can literally see the reverence for this text in the illuminated manuscript. The rich gold leaf and those meticulous parchment textures reflect the immense value placed on the canon. Ibn Sina compiled this encyclopedic work primarily in the Persian city of Hamadan. He achieved the seemingly impossible by actively synthesizing the heavy philosophical Greco-Roman traditions of Aristotle and Galen with the highly practical, hands-on observations of Persian, Chinese, and Indian medicine. It was a truly monumental feat of cross-cultural integration.
Part 2. Anatomy of the Canon.
To fully appreciate how this document functioned as a revolutionary tool, we need to examine its mechanical structure. Avicenna organized the canon into 5 massive books. Book 1 laid out basic physiological principles in anatomy. Book 2 serves as an exhaustive alphabetical list of medical substances. Book 3 diagnosed diseases localized to specific body parts. Book 4 tackled general diseases covering multiple systems, like fevers. And finally, Book 5 acted as a formulary of compound remedies.
This exact structure physically shifted the medical world away from disorganized scattered scrolls and ushered in an era of structured retrievable data. He essentially built the world's first comprehensive biological filing cabinet.
Now, what's really interesting is how the visual layout itself perfectly demonstrates that meticulous organization. The canon didn't merely list remedies haphazardly, it categorized highly complex biological systems. For example, it systematically broke down the various types of fevers and their corresponding treatments with almost mathematical precision. This clear layout allowed physicians to logically trace symptoms back to their root causes, all within one unified framework.
Part 3. Fusing Science and Philosophy.
The true genius of the text actually lies in its philosophical underpinnings. We really have to understand the specific lens through which Avicenna viewed health. Contrast the medieval scholastic view, which heavily integrated Aristotelian philosophy and holistic medicine, against our modern positivist view.
Right. So the crucial point is that Avicenna viewed the universe and the human body as a manifestation of a universal life principle. Health required balancing the physical elements right alongside the soul. Modern positivism, which took over centuries later, isolates physical mechanics entirely. It treats the universe and the human body essentially as dead matter to be mechanically repaired.
To grasp just how wildly successful Avicenna's holistic approach was, listen to this validation from Sir William Osler, who was one of the founding professors of Johns Hopkins Hospital. He described the canon as, quote, the most famous medical textbook ever written, a medical Bible for a longer time than any other work. This was the undisputed, unparalleled authority in medicine before the modern scientific shift.
Part 4. Universities and Religious Reactions.
Let's track how this builds over time. Following its creation in 1025, we can see exactly how Christian European academic institutions enthusiastically reacted to the text. The canon completely exploded in influence. By the 12th century, Gerard of Cremona translated it into Latin over in Toledo, Spain. By the 13th century, we start seeing Hebrew translations, and it becomes fully integrated into European universities. Christian scholastics warmly embraced the text because they deeply admired its Aristotelian logic. It meshed perfectly with their own religious and philosophical frameworks, remaining an absolute staple in European curricula all the way into the 18th century.
And that brings us to the resolution of our second mystery: why it eventually fell out of favor. We call this the positivist pivot. Starting around the 16th century, European humanists began showing a strong preference for original, classical Greek texts over Arabic translations and innovations. Later, as the positivist scientific revolution really took hold, modern medicine actively stripped away the philosophical elements. Science decided to isolate physical mechanics from the soul, and the holistic philosophical framework of the canon was actively discarded by the academic establishment.
Part 5. Centuries of Global Influence.
Despite that later academic pivot in Europe, the tangible, clinical impact of the Canon across the globe literally cannot be overstated.
The renowned historian of science, George Sarton, stated, "The Canon is an immense encyclopedia of medicine, illuminating thoughts pertaining to contagious nature of thesis, distribution of diseases by water and soil." Male host, this means Avicenna was making highly accurate, practical observations about how diseases spread through environmental impacts and contagion centuries before the germ theory of disease was formally established. That is just incredible.
And this English translation beautifully illustrates his clinical methodology, categorizing hot and cold swellings. Notice how it meticulously tracks the physical phases of a hot swelling from onset to decline, while also categorizing cold swellings based on humoral composition. Exactly. This wasn't just guesswork. Avicenna diagnosed conditions by carefully observing the complete constitution of the patient, their environment, and the precise physical manifestation of their symptoms.
Part 6. Lessons for Modern Scientists.
Looking back at this monumental text gives us direct lessons that can enhance modern clinical practice. For curious science professionals today, there are 3 highly practical, actionable takeaways from Avicenna's legacy. 1. Integrate interdisciplinary knowledge. Breakthroughs happen when you synthesize information across different fields, just like Avicenna combined Greek philosophy with Asian medical practice.
2. Treat the holistic system. You have to look beyond the isolated symptom to understand the entire patient environment and constitution. And 3. Actively acknowledge the philosophical assumptions underlying your scientific methods. Recognize that modern positivism is a specific lens, not the only way to view biological reality.
This ancient text represents over 1,000 years of accumulated human wisdom. The Canon of Medicine shows us that true scientific mastery requires both rigid organization and profound philosophical depth. As a practical next step, I highly encourage you to read a translated chapter of the Canon. See firsthand how its holistic logic and methodical categorizations can actually refine and challenge your own modern scientific practice. As we leave you today, consider this provocative thought. If the brilliant, universally accepted medical system of the Canon was ultimately replaced, consider which core assumption of our modern clinical medicine future scientists will ultimately discard. Thank you for joining us for this explainer. Disclaimer and bibliography in the description.